Richician.
Well, here I am. I'm doing it, even though I was a bit hesitant about doing this, although at the same time, it was requested, and I might as well get it out my system. I'm counting down my list for my top 10 hated Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game. Now, before I begin, I want to say a few things. I don't mean any offence to anyone who plays these cards, okay? These are just simply my thoughts and opinions, and I'm simply explaining why I hate them. So much so that I wish that absolutely none of these cards existed. In fact, most of them are part of the reason why I don't play in tournaments anymore. I feel like someone will probably say, oh, but that card's not meta relevant. And to that I say, so what? Like, I don't care about meta relevancy or irrelevancy. Just because a card isn't meta relevant doesn't mean it's not an annoying problem. And also, just to save time, I will say this, because I know someone's probably going to say, oh, but you can deal with this card using this card or that card. And just to save time, I'm going to say, just because there are outs to an annoying card doesn't mean you're guaranteed to draw into those cards every single time, no matter how many outs you have. And it sure as hell doesn't justify the existence of said annoying card. Oh, and one other quick thing before I start. I'm not going to include banned cards, because obviously with banned cards being banned, they're no longer a threat. Yeah, unless I decide to redo my top 10 hated banned card video, I'm not going to include them. And now let's begin. Number 10, there can only be one. Now, besides maybe skill drain, soul drain, and mind drain, I fucking hate floodgates. They're cheap, annoying, degenerate, unfair, unhealthy, and bad for the game, in my personal opinion. In this case, there can only be one. I hate it because monsters based on one monster type just basically auto-lose to this, and almost every single deck I have falls into that category. So, like, if this gets flipped up against me, then I just pretty much auto-lose. In fact, I can only think of 3 decks I have that this card doesn't really hurt. Evil Heroes, Normal Pendulum, and Highlander Yuya. That's basically it, whereas everything else just struggles. Dark Magician, Heroes, my Dragon decks, Cybus. I basically can't play if this card is on the field. If I can't play, then there's just no point playing out the duel, really. Now, multiple copies of Twin Twisters were suggested, but the problem is there's no room in my decks for more than one copy of Twin Twisters. I only have room for one, and because I need room for other things. Whether it's played in competitive decks or a certain hand deck, it's just so fucking infuriating. In fact, I don't even like playing against hand decks anymore because of this card. It's so infuriating. It's really all there is to it. Number 9, Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. Now, I know a certain someone probably isn't going to be happy about this, and I'm sorry. Like, I really, truly, and honestly don't mean any offence, but I fucking hate this card. Like, it basically an auto-win button. It does too many things that stop anyone from being able to play the game. Like, its pendulum effect makes it an OTK enabler, and its monster effect makes it a dark bribe on legs with fuck all weaknesses. Well, more specifically, immunity from opponents' effects that target and destroy if there's a spell counter on the field. Or more specifically, well, this has a spell counter, I should say. So even if I can get rid of it with a spell or trap that doesn't target or destroy, like Storming Mirror Force, it won't work, because this fucker will just negate it. I'm sure it can't negate monster effects, but it doesn't matter, because Jackal King and Appaloosa, two cards it's usually accompanied by, have that covered. Like, either way, I can't fucking play. It's just infuriating. Like, the deck has fuck all weaknesses, like, especially since it also has floodgates like Necro Valley, Secret Village, Magician's Right Hand, like, and you know, there's just basically no point playing it out. What's the point? Alright, yes, I was lucky enough to win against this deck with my Destiny Heroes, but that was pure luck more than anything. And that luck isn't going to happen every single time. I mean, yeah, again, really, that's all there is to it. NumberEight, Borrowload Savage Dragon. Now, if there's one thing I hate more than a dark bribe on legs, it's a monster that negates everything. I despise monsters like this. Like, monsters with this effect shouldn't be allowed in the game. Like this, Dragoon, Herald, Toad, Cyber Dragon Infinity, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, Baron, like, just like floodgates, they are degenerate, bullshit, unfair, unhealthy, and bad for the game. Like, these kinds of cards are part of the reason why I don't play in tournaments anymore. Like, I stopped to specifically get away from them so that I don't have to deal with them anymore. And yet, sometimes they pop up in casual games, which pisses me off. And I know someone's going to say, oh, just bait and negate and you'll be fine. Yeah, don't you think I've tried? Like, it doesn't fucking work. Like, the opponent is too smart. They won't negate what I want them to negate. And as a result, I just end up wasting resources until I have nothing. So I just end up scooping up. And even if I can successfully bait and negate, like, it feels like something that happens like once in a blue moon. Now, regarding Borrowload Savage Dragon, you could argue that it's the easiest one to stop, because you can just use Veiler, Infinite Impermanence, Fiendish Chain, or Breakthrough Skill to stop the effect to equip a Link monster. True, but like I said, just because there are outs to a card like this, doesn't mean you're always going to draw into them. Not to mention that it pisses me off when people would give me shit for not playing this in my Rocket deck. Either that, or they just wind me up over the fact that I don't play it. And yeah, it's called personal preference, okay? Like, not everyone likes monsters that negate everything, therefore not everyone wants to play them, especially those who don't even play competitively, so it doesn't matter. Like, why should you even care? Yeah, seriously. Number 8, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. Like the only Odd Eyes monster in the game that I hate, and it's basically a fusion version of Herald of Perfection. Like, that's something I should have said about Savage. It's a synchro version of Herald of Perfection. Like, yeah, this fucking card is an arch nemesis of mine, like just like the previous 2 cards. Like, it's been a thorn in my side for what, 6.5 years now. Like, regardless of whatever pendulum deck it's been played in. And returning a pendulum monster from the extra deck to the deck is pretty much nothing to give up. Like, you're just basically recycling a pendulum that you can use again later. And because there'll usually be quite a lot in the extra deck, and you can do other things to put them in the extra deck, there's just no minus. And yeah, this card is basically the main source of my hatred for pendulum magicians. Like, if I'm not getting OTK'd, then my deck is being negated by this card. So fucking annoying. Like, I never thought I'd hate a fusion monster more than I hate Gladiator Beast Herakleinos, another old arch nemesis of mine. And yet, here's Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. Not to mention that this card is part of the only reason why me and Brute Boy lost the tag team title back in 2016. Because this and Hope Harbinger just locked down our decks and we couldn't fucking do anything. It's just such horseshit. Number 6, Totally Arsehole. An Xyz version of Herald of Perfection. Like, this fucking card basically ruined frogs for me in more ways than one. Whether it's the main problem card of Paleozoic Frog, an extra annoyance in the Prank Kid matchup, or being played in anything that runs Bahama Shark, this card is just infuriating. Just negating my deck, stopping me from being able to play. The other annoying thing is that it gets round the most generic outs to monsters that negate everything. Kaijus and super polys. Even if I do that, or do successfully destroy it, it just recycles itself, ready to be used again later. And if it comes out again while there's a kaiju on the field, which is very likely, I can't kaiju that away because there's a kaiju already on the field. So really, the only way to just outright get rid of it for good is just use Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, which I did manage to do twice before, but somehow I still lost. I don't even know how I did it how I lost the first time. This was in a tournament game I had back in 2017. Whereas on the other occasion, this was in a tag team duel, and the tag partner top-decked Pot of Acquisitiveness and put them all back. It's like, fuck's sake, why? So yeah, even when this card got limited, it didn't make a difference, really, due to the fact that it can just recycle itself. Unless, of course, you have Called by the Grave on hand, I suppose. Now the reason why I specifically said that it ruined frogs for me in more ways than one is because back in the day I used to play a frog deck. And no, I'm not talking about Frog Monarch or Frog FTK. Fuck those decks. No, I'm talking about pure frogs that was running like good old Treeborn Frog, like Des Frog, D3S Frog, Tadpole, Wetlands, even Froggy Force Field, because why not? I mean, it made sense at the time, because back then Mirror Force still only had 2 prints, and it was still too expensive and too difficult to get. And for frog decks, this was a good budget alternative. And back in 2016, I did plan to rebuild that deck. I mean, it was just such a fun deck. But then I saw Toad, read what it did, and then I was like, oh, hell no! And that just outright put me off. I mean, I could have just played the deck without Toad, but I feel like if I did, people would give me shit for it and pester me to play it. And it would just be a repeat of that whole Dark Lord bullshit from 2015, which I could do without. We're at the halfway point now, and at number 5 is Cyber Dragon Infinity, also NXC's version of Herald of Perfection. But as annoying as Toad is, Infinity is actually worse due to the fact that it negates effects of cards as well as initial activations, and it can use its other effect to add on more negates and more attack points. This card just basically ruined the Cyber Dragon archetype for me, which is annoying because I like Cyber Dragon itself. It's an iconic card and one of my top 10 favourite machines, and I like the original fusions, Cyber Twin and Cyber End. But literally, all Cyber Dragon decks ever fucking do is just summon Infinity, sit behind it, don't really bother doing anything else, and just get a free win, since this is just basically their auto win button. At this point, it's just basically Infinity dot deck, and that's regardless of whether they go first or second, and it makes making Cyber Dragon players go first pointless now. Because before this card came along, well, here's the thing, Cyber Dragons thrive off going second, and before this came along, if you make the Cyber Dragon player go first, there's not much they can do going first, but Infinity just outright changes that. If they go first, they just make Infinity and just sit behind it and negate everything. But if they go second, they still do that, but also drop Seeger and Rampage and just use and abuse them to go for an OTK. That's literally all they ever do. No one ever plays them the old-fashioned way anymore, focusing on the overwhelming power of Cyber Twin and Cyber End. It's like the original fusions have just been outright tossed aside and disregarded, like they meant nothing, which is kind of sad. I don't even recognise this deck anymore as a classic GX archetype. If this card just didn't exist, I wouldn't have a problem with Cyber Dragons, and I would quite happily play the deck myself. Yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to it. Number 4, Ash Blossom. Yes, I'm being that guy, and I know that hating Ash Blossom is an unpopular opinion. In fact, this is the one I was most hesitant about talking about, even though it's not number 1. But Yeah, did you ever think to ask why some Yu-Gi-Oh players hate Ash Blossom? Now, I don't know about anyone else who hates this card, but believe it or not, I actually have good, valid reasons for hating Ash Blossom. Like, it just stops too many things. Like, it's one of those cards that just does too many things that stop anyone from being able to play, really, or just go off. Like, it results in either the scoop phase or just not being able to do anything for a turn or two. And I'm so sick and tired of seeing this in almost every fucking deck I see. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I don't want to play in tournaments anymore. But then again, even outside of tournament play, there's just no escape because it's being played in casual decks like Utopia, Destiny Heroes, Speedroids, Fluffles, Gene Raiders. I just can't catch a break. Now, I know that this card is a necessary evil against the meta, okay? I get that, really. I truly, honestly do understand that. And I do acknowledge that, so don't come at me in the comments and say, hey, oh, you're an idiot for hating this, it's a necessary evil against meta. I know. Again, I am acknowledging that, because I've had similar comments before, and it's annoying when people don't listen to me when I've already explained something to them. So yeah, I understand it's a necessary evil, but to me, it's pure evil, okay? Like, if you want to use this against meta or any competitive deck, then go ahead. Like, I'm not stopping you, that's your business after all. But do you really have to bring it into a casual game against a casual player playing a casual deck? Like, some of us just simply want to play the game and not have our plays stopped all the time. It doesn't matter to me personally if I win or lose my games. Like, I'm chill with the result as long as I have a chance to do something and can, actually play the game. That's all I care about. And before someone says it, I know Called by the Grave can out this card. Like, I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, just use Called by the Grave, especially since the card is limited. Like, the chances of drawing it are too damn slim, and even if I do draw it, I can only stop 1 out of 3 Ash Blossoms, and then I have no way to stop the other 2. Unless, of course, it's like past turn 2 and I have Solemn Strike ready to go. Now, I know there is also Triple Tactics Talents and Crossout Designator, and don't get me wrong, they are very good cards, but they have flaws which put me off from playing them myself. Like, both of them are too expensive and too difficult to get. And as for talents, like, drawing 2 cards is nice, I mean, the effect that usually gets used, and there is a chance you could draw cards you need from it. There's also that chance that you might not draw cards that you need. And I'd rather have the effect that Ash Blossom stopped. Alright, feeble excuse, I know, but, it can happen. Not drawing the cards that you need. And as for Crossout Designator, well, that requires me to play an Ash Blossom as well, and I refuse to play this card. And again, choosing not to play it is called personal preference. I mean, it's no different from the fact that Pendulum players, including Endymion players, don't play it. I mean, so why should me not playing it be any different? I'd much rather have 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Like, it's easier to use, it's cheaper and easier to get. In fact, Ash Blossom's very existence is exactly why Called by the Grave should go back to 3. Like, I hate that Konami only limited it just to promote Triple Tactics talents. Like, it's one of the dumbest ban list changes in the history of the game. So please, Konami, please bring Called by the Grave back to 3, because 1 is not enough, and like, some of us can't get Triple Tactics talents and cross out Designator. Like, it's hard enough getting 1 copy of each, let alone 2. Of course, that being said, another funny card which I might actually start playing, which is a good budget alternative, is Prohibition. Now, to be fair, someone else did think of it, like, even if it was just in a meme, but it's actually a good shout. So yeah, I am absolutely willing to play 3 copies of Prohibition in my decks, if that's what it takes to specifically counter Ash Blossom. Of course, I need to find the room first. Number 3, Herald of Perfection. Yeah, you probably guessed this was gonna come up, considering I mentioned it a couple of times. Now, as annoying as Infinity, Toad and Vortex are, they're nothing compared to Herald. The original monster that negates everything. I mean, I'm not counting Light and Darkness Dragon, because at least Light and Darkness Dragon has to negate something, whereas Herald is the first one to do it by choice. Like, it's too fucking easy to summon, and unlike the other monsters, the effect isn't once per turn, and it stacks multiple times in the same chain. Like, how is that even fair? Like, it's just not. Like, it's basically game over whenever this card comes out. You know, there's just no point playing it out. Like, and it does make me wonder how this card never got banned. Like, I don't care what anyone says, this fucker should have been banned years ago. There have been reasons behind it, and there have been people defending this card by saying, oh, the deck's bricky as fuck, it's inconsistent. Bullshit! This deck is not inconsistent in any way whatsoever. How can it be when it plays 3 copies of each of the ritual cards, so depending on which ritual spell you use, Manju, maybe Senju, I don't know, pre-preparation of rites, preparation of rites, ritual sanctuary, the field spell, has the option of playing the incantation monsters and Pot of Extravagance, because let's face it, ritual decks don't care about the extra deck. So yeah, forgive me if I don't believe anyone who says that the deck is inconsistent. Like, no disrespect, but it's really not. And as for bricking, well, that means nothing. Like, anyone with any deck can brick, even decks that shouldn't ever brick at all. You know, like Gadgets, Elemental Heroes, Raid Raptors, Rockets, Endymion, and yet somehow they do. Now, I'm not saying that Herald players never ever brick at all, but what I am saying is that bricking doesn't always happen. I mean, sure, if it does happen, then yeah, the deck is easy to beat, but if it doesn't, it always wins. I think I myself have only ever been in 2 games where the Herald player bricked. Either that or I just flipped up skill drain in chain to the ritual spell because I was using my Hero City deck in both games. But yeah, other than that, every time I either play against Herald or see it in action, it always wins. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah, it's just annoying that people use bricking as a defense for annoying decks like this. Herald, UAs, Monarchs. They don't deserve to be defended. Like, all of them are decks that just shouldn't exist. I'm just saying. Number 2, Mystic Mine. The most degenerate field spell in the game. I don't care what anyone says, making this card was a mistake. Like, it's one of those cards that seems to only exist just to piss everyone off. Like all creating this card did was just help out basically every troll deck, especially Burn. It's bad enough that Mystic Mine Burn exists, but then people started maining or siding it just to get an easy win through end of match procedure. And I'm sorry, but this is a cheap, dirty, dishonourable and disrespectful way to win. It really is. Come on now. The idea of the game is to attack each other with monsters until someone's life points hit 0, not hide behind cards that say you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! And stall out the game for purposeless reasons. Now, I know it has those 2 drawbacks, but those drawbacks don't mean anything. Well, first of all, getting the same number of monsters out as the opponent is easier said than done, especially if the opponent doesn't even have any monsters. What am I supposed to do then? Play Dark Hold or Thunder Crash, a card that no one plays anymore and a card that no one ever uses at all. Plus, I feel bad destroying my own monsters because I respect my cards. I wouldn't resort to destroying them unless I had to. And as for the other drawback, come on now. Mystic Mine players are not stupid. They're not going to extend their board with monsters while Mystic Mine is on the field. Otherwise, its effect will backfire. So really, its drawbacks mean absolutely nothing. Not to mention that I think it's kind of bullshit that it even stops monsters that are unaffected by card effects, like Ultimate Falcon and Blackwing Full Armor Master. All because of a technicality in the wording where it says your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. It shouldn't even work like that. I mean, come on, surely, if there's a card on the field stopping monsters from attacking or using their effects, it should directly affect the monster, not the player. Do you not think? In any case, it's also annoying that I've been robbed of victory on far too many occasions because of this card. Bullshit spell is bullshit. Number 1, and yes, you've guessed it and probably already knew, Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. I've ranted about it so much already that there's not really anything I can say that I haven't said already. Now, as annoying as Herald of Perfection is, Dragoon is actually worse than Herald. Sure, the negation effect is once per turn, but it doesn't matter. Again, it negates effects as well as initial activations, and it has targeting and destruction immunity. Like, and it's too fucking easy to summon. Like, like, it's just not a fair and balanced card in any way whatsoever. Like, I don't know how anyone can defend it and say it's not that bad. Like, it fucking is. Like, this is an abomination of a Dark Magician and Red Eye support card. I just hate that it exists. And I'm sick of seeing it in almost every fucking deck. And yes, I did say almost, like, alright, maybe it won't see that much play anymore, because Anaconda recently got banned, but it'll still see play, god damn it, like, even in branded decks, and it'll still continue to give Dark Magician and Red Eyes a bad name. And as an old school duelist, that bothers me, because Dark Magician is of course my favourite card and it's my signature deck, and I'm also a Red Eyes fan. And like, I myself choose to not play it, and it also pisses me off when people question me for not playing it myself, and pester me to play it. It's so infuriating, especially since, again, like I said before, I don't even play competitively, so it doesn't even matter if I don't play it. I just feel like that, besides two or three other Dark Magician players I can think of, all other Dark Magician and Red Eyes players seem to ever fucking do is just summon Dragoon, sit behind it, don't bother doing anything else, and just get a free win. That's basically it, and at this point, you might as well be playing Dragoon dot deck. Again, like, that's another big reason why I don't play in tournaments anymore. I mean, sure, it won't be played in every deck, but I just know it will see some kind of play. And the branded Albaz decks have proved to be very popular recently. I'm not saying I hate the deck, I'm just saying that I hate that it can make Dragoon just like that. Plus, I feel like my deck tends to get unfairly judged because Dragoon and floodgates like Secret Village and Right Hand exist. But unlike most Dark Magician decks, mine is a more casual build, because as you know, like, I don't play Dragoon. Like, I absolutely refuse. Like, I don't play Secret Village or Magician's Right Hand, because playing monsters that negate everything and degenerate floodgates is not my style. Like, that's not how I roll. Like, I want me and my opponent to be able to enjoy my games, and I want both of us to have a fair and equal chance of playing and just have fun, And again, it doesn't matter if I win or lose, as long as we're having fun, that's all I care about. But Dragoon just takes all the fun out of the game and just ruins it for everyone else. Like Dragoon and similar cards, for me, just defeat the whole point of the game. The point being that this is a game, and games are supposed to be about having fun, not trying desperately to win all the time with cards that say, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, seriously, fuck this card. I hope one day it gets fucking banned. Like, maybe not anytime soon, because I know it's gonna get another tin printing later on, but like, it's gotta happen sooner or later. I mean, it's banned in the OCG, and if it can be banned in the OCG, there is no reason why it can't be banned in the TCG as well, like, regardless of what anyone says. And yeah, that's basically it for the list. I mean, whether or not you agree with me or not is up to you, really. I mean, if you do, fantastic. If you don't, fair enough, that's your opinion, but, you know, rather than have an argument about it in the comments, let's just agree to disagree and move on. And yeah, that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Richician YouTube channel.